Welcome to the Upshot, Ultra-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the host and the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Josh Mansfield is on vacation this week. Apologies for the audio quality for my voice for much of this show. Actually, most of the interview is going to sound great. Unfortunately, my main travel mic is broken. My backup travel mic doesn't work through USB-C for some reason. So I have to use my AirPods. And I am in Burlington, Kentucky for Idlewild. And I think I'm by the airport somewhere. But getting ready for Idlewild. I'll be on the call this weekend with Brian Earhart and Juliana Korver. Super excited for the tournament and a chance for everybody to get one last tune-up in before the World Championships in 2 weeks. We will already be well into the start of Worlds 2 weeks from today. It's going to be so much fun. Today's show, not going to be super focused on Ledgestone. We did rapid reacts. Get yourself a subscription. It might be somebody messaged me and said it was one of the worst tournaments of the year, but one of the best rapid reacts of the year. So we hope you join us. We had a really fun time. Just another killer performance from Gannon Buhr, who's clearly number one in the world right now. And it's you start to wonder, like, who's going to challenge him on a week-to-week basis when he's playing his best? Can anybody else even keep up? Maybe Ricky Wysocki, who was not in the field at Ledgestone. So we'll see if Ricky can be that guy right now, or Anthony Barella, Calvin. But people haven't had an answer for what Gannon has been bringing to the table as he takes down a big paycheck for winning Ledgestone. Meanwhile, Holland Handley looking very good on the FPO side with all the Europeans out. She was the favorite, I think, on paper coming in, and she took it down. We talk about all that and a lot more, including Spottergate, Rollergate, and everything else in our Rapid Reacts. It's available to all Ultra-World Disc Golf subscribers. Just go to discgolf.ultraworld.com/subscribe. We do those shows every Sunday night following tournaments. And we're going to be doing daily Rapid Reacts throughout all of Worlds. So it's a great time to sign up and join us in the Discord and join us for our Rapid React shows live in the Discord, and then in your own private RSS for a podcast feed that you can add to your favorite podcasting app. All right. So what are we doing today? We're going to be talking first with Jesse Weisz, who's been running the Fandom Survey for the past couple of years. And we're going to go through some of the most interesting results from the Fandom Survey from 2023 and some of the changes that are coming in 2024. Make sure you fill out the Fandom Survey and get your voice heard about your favorite players, manufacturers, what you like about media, and everything else in the disc golf universe. Just go to discgolfsurvey.com to take the survey, and we'll also put a link in the description. So without further ado, let's get over to my interview with Jesse, and we'll be right back right here on the Upshot.
At Pound, the quality of our gear runs deeper than the stitching. That's why we make everything right here in the US, employing highly skilled, well-paid professionals. From bomb-proof Cordura fabric to YKK zippers and recycled plastics, we source the highest quality US materials to make the most comfortable, durable pack in disc golf. Our lifetime warranty stays with the pack, not the purchaser. So regardless of how you find us, we will be here to make sure your pack stays on the course and out of the landfill. Pound's integrity is held together with more than just thread.
Are you tired of being tired? Are you ready to get 8 hours of unbroken sleep? If you answered yes to either of those questions, our sponsor here may be able to help. Sunset Lake CBD sponsors the Upshot and their hemp farm up in Vermont, making CBD products designed to help you get better sleep. As a former dairy farm that produced dairy and cream for another Vermont staple, Ben & Jerry's, Sunset Lake CBD is no stranger to quality ingredients or standing behind their products. In fact, they test every product for potency and purity and put the results online for all to see. They'll even mail you a copy with your order. I can attest to that. And that includes all of their nighttime products. Sunset Lake has gummies, tinctures, and soft gels designed to help you sleep gently and naturally. I already mentioned I'm thinking about taking some sleep gummies with me to Australia or on my trip. I got to make sure that I'm not going to violate any international laws, but I am going to check that out because I've used the sleep gummies in the past with the melatonin, and man, it knocks you out. And you get a great night's sleep. You don't feel groggy in the morning. Wake up ready to go, but can really help when you're just having a hard time getting sleep, or maybe you're dealing with some jet lag, So head over to sunsetlakecbd.com. Our listeners can get 20% off their order with code UPSHOT at checkout. Again, it's sunsetlakecbd.com. Sleep sound knowing that they stand behind their products. Sunset Lake CBD, farmer-owned, Vermont-grown. Joining us now on the Upshot is Jesse Weisz. He is the founder of the Fandom Survey that has continued to expand in various ways, and a longtime contributor to Ultiworld Disc Golf. Jesse, it's great to have you back on the program.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Now, see, this is now a bald guy podcast. I don't know if you knew this, but you got the so okay. I need the tips. I went to the barber yesterday, and they charged me $30 to get my head buzzed with just like a foil shaver, and I was like, $30 is like a little more than I really feel like I should have to pay, and I don't really want to pay it since it's like something I can do myself. What shaver should I get?
It's a Phillips shaver that I use. The last time I paid for a haircut was the year 2000, I think.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
I need to have a stat like that for myself.
Yeah,
I like going to the barber, but like the barber prices have just gone like totally crazy. It's like basically double what it was before the pandemic. So I'll sync up with you offline and get the right.
I'll send you an Amazon link. I just missed that hot shaving cream. It's fantastic. Yeah,
I mean, I would pay $30 for that.
I think you can get a heater for like your shaving cream, and so that's what I really need to do. That's the next level.
Make a whole home setup.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right. Well, Jesse, I know you've been making the rounds, getting the survey out there. I think a lot of people at this point have probably heard about it, but just very quick synopsis. What is this survey about? And that we'll put a link in the description and everything. But if they want to make their voice heard, what's the deal?
So the Fandom Survey is basically a census for the disc golf community, so we can learn what's going on with the disc golf community, who they are, what they think, their relation to the sport. It's also market research, so it's figuring out, what are maybe the best decisions that the leaders in our sport should be making. And it's also journalism. We publish articles in Ultiworld. Last year we published 7. The year before we published 9. And so we share our results with the disc golf community. So it's a lot of different things in one survey.
So I thought it would be fun, rather than kind of like asking you many of the same questions that other podcasts have asked you and that are kind of available if people are interested to go and read about them. Why don't we talk a little bit about what was interesting from 2023, and then maybe how that's going to inform some of the questions and things that you're going to be asking this year. Because it's been an interesting year, like it feels like we're seeing not necessarily a recession in disc golf, but at least a flattening, and people are maybe having to make some decisions. We know, obviously, people have been hearing a little bit about the cutbacks on the Disc Golf Network and at the Disc Golf Pro Tour. That's following major layoffs at some manufacturers like Prodigy. So, there's been like a little bit of a cooling off period post-COVID. And so in some ways, I think this is probably the most interesting year to have a survey, because we're not just going to have people saying, I bought 50 discs this year anymore. Maybe.
We'll see.
So how does that sound? You want to take us through some of the stuff that you found most compelling from 2023?
Yeah, you bet.
All right, let's dive in.
So start off, and for those of you who are watching the YouTube, you'll be able to see some of these charts that we're showing. And
we'll do our best to describe them if you're a podcast-only listener.
So one of the main features, I think the central pillar of the Fandom Survey from the beginning, is something that we call Fandom Score. So it's asking fans to rate players, whether they're rooting for them, rooting against them, or for them on a 0 to 10 scale. And last year, the most popular player was Simon Lizotte, who had an 8.99. So, basically averaging a 9. And second was Tatar with an 8.64. And it goes down from there. And so this is a great way to get a pulse on who's the most popular in our sport. We also look at change in fandom score from 2022 to 2023. And so from our polling, Isaac Robinson had the biggest bump from 2022 to 2023, which makes sense. He had this big breakout year, and his fandom score went up 19.3%. So that's, the kind of our headline stat is this fandom score.
You know what I think is interesting about the percentage change is how few players made like tangible gains in their average score. Like, it makes sense, right? Isaac winning 2 majors and winning worlds, like going up 19% from probably a fairly low or sort of like neutral base where people like didn't necessarily know who he was, or maybe they knew his name, but they didn't really know him that well. But I mean, otherwise, the only players who are above 5% gains are Nicholas Antila, Brody Smith, Alden Harris, Ella Hansen, and Gannon Burr. And the latter two right around 6%. And I just find that kind of interesting. Like, it's hard to move the perception that people have of you, even if you play well. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
I think it's probably for most players gradual. But if you're like Isaac Robinson, who sort of came out of nowhere and won 2 majors in a year, you can have a sudden rise. I think what Gannon Burr obviously is the person I'm looking most closely at this year to see what happens to his fandom score. He's now the number 1 player in the world. So that's, in theory, his fandom score should go up, but maybe there's more exposure and, he's beating everybody else's favorite players, and maybe that makes his fandom score go down. I don't know.
Yeah, he's a little polarizing, I think. I mean, you certainly see that sentiment online. Some people don't like his play style. Some people don't like the fact that he takes a lot of time for shots, although I think it's clear that he's gotten a lot better about that. But I agree with you. I think, will he be a top 10 most favorited player? He was not even close to that last year, right? I mean, he was down. He's not even on the chart that we just showed.
Yeah, he's not on that chart. Gannon last year, I put this down on my notepad because I figured it was going to come up. Gannon last year was a 6.4 average fandom score. And, other headline players last year, Paige was a 5.9 and Ricky was a 5.5. So I'll be curious to see how some of those players move this year.
It is very interesting. The only players above 8, which is like, you're doing great. Matty O, Nate Sexton, Calvin Heimberg, Kristen Tatar, and Simon Lizotte. Anyway, what did you notice about how people's fandom score changes if they get a big victory?
So that was one question we did look at. I'm pulling up the graph on my end. A couple of events happened while we were had the survey open. And so Isaac Robinson winning Worlds. After Worlds, he had a 2.7% bump in his fandom score. The big one was Matty O. He had a 9.1% bump after MVP Open. So, the kind of perennial, almost winning guy, finally winning something, really did boost his fandom score. Kyle Klein went up 2.3%. I think one of the most interesting ones was Holland Handley winning Throw Pink. She went down by 2.4%. And that's, I guess, because she won in controversial fashion with the OB.
A reasonable assumption.
Yeah. So that was really interesting. We'll see if we have any of those this year that we can look at. But I think that there are swings based on people winning.
So are you doing any deeper dive on fandom for players this season?
Yeah. So one of the things that's interesting about our survey this year is that you have the option. The first question you're asked is, how long of a survey do you want to take? We have a 10-minute survey. We have a roughly 20-minute survey. And then we have a survey that takes longer, probably more like a half an hour. And depending on what you select there, we get deeper and deeper into these questions. And so we're trying to get deeper answers to all of these questions. So one thing that we have is asking people to, we're trying to figure out why people root for certain players. And that's kind of been the goal since the beginning, but we're answering deeper questions this year that will help us get more to the root of that. So, for example, we ask people to rate, are you on a 1 to 5 scale, does this contribute? Does this not contribute to, does this contribute greatly? So they are a winner. They are in awe of what they're capable of doing. You like their personality. You enjoy their play style. You enjoy their social media content. You like their looks and their personal style. They have great form and you enjoy watching them throw. You think their values and views align with yours. They have a connection to where you live. You've interacted with them directly. So those are the different factors that we're looking at. And based on how the respondents reply to that question, we can then cross-tabulate the data and then see what are the factors that, even for specific players, why fans root for them.
Yeah, I'm going to be very interested to see what people say to that question, which I don't necessarily know that people will be able to parse that out. Like, you might say you like a guy's personality, for instance, but maybe you just like that they win a lot, even if you don't think that that's the reason that you like them. I don't know. I think certain players, it'll be like a very big personality story, like a Simon, and other players, might get a lot more bonus from just like the way that they're able to throw the Frisbee, like Anthony Barella, for instance.
Well, we also asked this question. We asked the same question for MPO and we separate it for FPO. So for certain fans, they might, how they root for FPO might be different than what they're interested in for MPO in terms of what makes them interested in rooting for players.
We've been long having the conversation on this podcast about live versus post. I think the balance has already clearly swung in the watching live direction, but what did you see from last year's data and maybe projecting what do you think you're going to see here in 2024?
There's a clear shift from 2022 to 2023 that more and more people are watching live. Less and less people are watching post. And I think that that's also been reflected in the view counts for Jomez. And we expect that trend to continue. We're trying to, again, with everything in the survey, dig into this question more, get more clarity on how much time people are spending watching disc golf, and how they're consuming it. But we're also going to try to dig into other forms of media. So this year we're asking which podcasts people listen to. So you'll be able to check boxes to say which ones you listen to. And then we can get an idea of, are Upshot listeners different from Staggered Stance listeners, in terms of which players they're rooting for and how they consume disc golf. So, I think, if people who watch more YouTube, do they give higher fandom scores to Alden Harris and Gannon Burr, for example? So that's one way that we're able to see how the media that we consume affects who we root for.
You're asking more questions about why people watch an event. Like, what are you hoping to find out there?
For why people watch an event, I'm getting there. For why people watch an event, this is one of the questions that the Disc Golf Pro Tour is really interested in. They wanted to see what is it that brings people in to watch the sport. So you can rank in the survey on who is playing, who is commentating, what courses are played, who is winning, whether there is post-produced coverage, who sponsors it, whether there is live coverage, and the tier of the event. And ranking those will give us a sense of, well, why do you watch an event? What are the events that are low priority for you? And what is the reason for those to be low priority?
As we take a look at the next slide here, you're also asking to rank the importance of majors. I am fascinated by what the wisdom of the crowd will say about this. I mean, I think I could guess right now. I mean, I'll give you my list. Right?
Sure.
1 Worlds, 2 USDGC, 3 European Open, 4 Champions Cup. With U.S. Women's, I'm curious where people will place that one in the kind of like context of the FPO universe. I love that you included the A-tier throw pink in here. I feel like U.S. Women's will probably go ahead of Champions Cup, but below the others. And I don't know what people are going to do with throw pink, but I will be very interested. Because if it ends up in the top 3, like, we need to just go ahead and call it a major, right?
Well, this is discussed in the Upshot a lot, and that's one of the reasons why we put this question in there. It's for you, Charlie.
Thank you.
And I can tell you right now, as of the last time I looked at the data, throw pink is not last in importance among FPO majors.
Wow. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Like, it feels more important than, you know, a lot of times U.S. Women's feels a little overshadowed. It's been that way for a long time. I'm not quite sure if that's because it just feels like it's not being run to the same standard as some of the other tournaments. I don't necessarily know that was the case this year, but it certainly has been in the past. That'll be interesting to see. So what was the data on sales of discs last year? Because I think that's going to be an area where we see some pretty notable changes as the mix of new versus existing players has clearly shifted. And that tends to mean, I would imagine, that people are buying fewer discs because they already have discs. They don't need to fill a whole bag.
Yeah, we covered, we had a whole article on discs last year, and you can find that on Ultiworld. And we did all sorts of cross tabulations to answer questions about how many discs people are buying based on how often they play, when they started playing, and all these, how much money they earn. We were able to look into how many discs people buy and how often they play based on where they are in their career. And we'll have more data on that this year. Questions we've added in that I think will give us more information is we've asked people what their PDGA rating is, if they have one. We asked people how far they throw, what types of events they play, whether they're lefty or righty, whether they use a bag or a cart, who they play with when they play disc golf with, are they playing, what percentage of the time are they playing with their club? Are they playing in tournaments? Are they playing with friends? Are they playing alone? So all of that's going to give us some interesting answers, especially when cross-referenced with things like disc sales.
I was blown away looking at the data. Everyone throws 450 feet. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, who knew that everybody had that on the internet? So then you also, it looks like you're going to be asking about when people started playing or, watching, and like which thing happened first. I think that's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, we call that the disc golf journey. And this was inspired by Dion Arlen, who's a former professional disc golfer, founder of Statmando, and now a PDGA employee. He was really curious about what order do people go in terms of getting involved in disc golf. When you purchasing a disc, playing your first round, joining the PDGA, subscribing to DGN, watching disc golf coverage on a platform, joining a club, what order does that happen for different respondents? So that will be really interesting to try to figure out how we get into the sport and how we get, further involved in the sport over time.
A lot of players these days have a tour series disc or some sort of signature disc. Who sold those last year?
So last year, this was one of the most interesting things we found in the survey. 40% roughly of our respondents last year in the past 12 months had bought a Simon Lizotte disc.
That is an absolutely insane number.
It is. And in second was Paul Macbeth with 26%. And then in third was Calvin at 21%. And fourth was Kristen around 19.5%. I'm really curious to see if Lizotte, I'm guessing Lizotte's numbers are going to go down because last year he had the MVP, the Discmania fire sale of him leaving. Right. And then also he had Discmania,
the new releases.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I doubt he's
when did the Pixel come out? Did it come out this year?
I think that's within the last 12 months.
So I mean, he's still gonna do some numbers because I feel like people have been buying those.
Yeah. So we'll see what that's like, this year. But I think one of the most interesting things we had was, sorry, before I go into that, Gannon Buhr's going to be interesting also. He left Prodigy, and a lot of people don't buy, or at least the people I speak to, don't buy Prodigy discs because of the quality. Now he's left to Discmania, which a company that has, in theory, much better quality. So it'll be really interesting to see how Gannon's sales shifted.
Yeah. And like what's being made available, there's obviously some controversy right now about like him getting a Cloudbreaker, and people are like, oh, that was Eagles disc, you shouldn't sell it under Gannon's name, which I think is a crazy take, because why would they not want to sell a very popular brand name disc with their number one player in the world stamped on it? Like, that's just obvious. So we'll see, because I feel like so far I don't really associate any Discmania discs with like, oh, that's like an important disc that Gannon has. And so part of that is probably just me not caring that much about this particular element of disc golf. But I do think that like when they release Cloudbreakers, or when he gets his signature putter, which is probably coming soon, that we're going to start to see those sales pick up for Gannon. Probably.
I also think maybe he's not as a bold of a marketer as Simon and Eagle were.
That's true, but like Calvin isn't exactly a bold marketer, and he still sells a crap ton of destroyers.
A crap ton of destroyers are going to sell themselves. And that's one of the things that we get into with this next question. How we're digging deeper this year is we ask people on a 1 to 5 scale about purchasing a Signature Series disc about a specific player. Was it the mold of the plastic? Was it the mold or the specific, like, special run of plastic? Is that the reason why they bought that Signature Series disc? Is it because they want to throw similar discs to the professional players? Or is it because they like the player and want to support their touring efforts? We're going to be able to figure that out for each of these players. So some players may just have a really good mold, and maybe people are buying their Signature Series disc because they really want that mold or plastic of disc. And other players, it's because fans really like them and want to support them. So I think that's going to be a really interesting statistic that we come up with.
One of the things you did last year that I liked was that you kind of cross-tabbed people who liked a manufacturer, and then you like looked at how they rated players given that they liked a particular manufacturer. And then you kind of looked at the correlations there. What did you find most interesting about this data?
There was a whole bunch of things that jumped off the screen at me. Like one thing was that Paige Pierce is more popular with MVP fans than she is with Discraft fans. Or that Andrew Presnell, I think, was here. Let me pop up to that one. Was less popular with Discmania fans than he was with general fans overall. And Corey Ellis wasn't very popular with Discraft fans. So we're trying to figure out, like, are there some mismatches between the fans of a certain brand and the players? And there might be players who would be better off on different brands. Like Joel Freeman's very popular with, or I don't know if I want to say very popular, more popular with people with dynamic disc fans than he is with Innova fans, for example. So and we'll be doing this one again. This is such an interesting way of looking at data that we'll definitely do it again.
This looks like strongest correlation is Macbeth Discraft fandom, but I bet that goes in reverse. I think it's probably Macbeth that's driving like more interest in Discraft. We saw what happened. Company basically had a renaissance, absolutely perfect timing. They signed Macbeth, and then pandemic, and then disc golf explosion, and they've like completely refilled their sponsorship team from a point. I mean, a lot of new fans probably don't even realize that like 7 years ago, Discraft had like nobody on their team. It was like Nate Doss, like
retired Nate
riding
Doss
on fumes, and they signed Macbeth, and then it completely like turned the brand around from a perception standpoint. And I think that's probably why you see that number stick out.
Well, one thing to keep in mind is that's only part of the chart that I'm showing you there, Charlie. If you look in the article, there's all the Discmania guys, but that's part of the chart. But yeah, of the people that are shown on the clip of the chart that I shared with you, Paul Macbeth definitely does stand out there.
You're asking more about manufacturers this year. What's the idea there?
So again, with everything we're doing, we're just trying to dig in a little bit more. So one of the questions we asked this year is what contributes most to your opinions of disc manufacturers? The quality of discs they produce, the variety of discs they produce, their brand and style, the touring professional disc golfers they sponsor, the local disc golfers they sponsor, the DGPT events they sponsor. So we're trying to get into, well, why do you like manufacturers? What are the things that make you want to buy their discs more? So I think this is going to be very interesting for the manufacturers to see where they maybe should be spending their money.
And then finally, you're starting to get some more cross-tab information about what other things disc golfers like to do. I'm sure that there are plenty of people, particularly the Pro Tour, that are going to be interested in this data as they start to try to look for sponsorship opportunities. I have some guesses. I do think outdoor activities like hiking and camping is going to be a massive category for disc golfers. And then after that, I really don't know. I'll be interested to see what sticks out.
Yeah, we're partnering with the Pro Tour this year and with the PDGA. And so we met with them and they said, these are kinds of things that we'd like to learn to help us get more sponsors for the Pro Tour. And this was one of the questions that they were interested in learning. And so we've incorporated some of these questions into our survey. And this is one that's going to help them hopefully grow our sport.
Well, great stuff. Any final thoughts? And I guess I should just ask the simple question: how can people fill out the survey?
The easiest way to find the survey is go to discgolfsurvey.com. And right in the middle of that webpage, you'll find a button that goes directly to the survey.
Well, it's a great chance to get your opinions out there. And not only is this interesting, but I think long run, this is the kind of thing that's going to help kind of push the sport forward when we start to think about like what efforts need to be taken to improve, people's enjoyment of the sport, people's enjoyment of watching professional coverage of the sport. So Jesse, of course, appreciate all the work that you do. And how's it going so far with survey responses?
Well, I just heard from Josiah while we were on this call. Josiah is the survey's architect, and he's keeping track of all these things. He said we have 2,800 completed surveys. Last year we had 3,000 surveys. So and we still have a few more weeks of the survey being open. The PDGA just sent out an email to 90,000 people about the survey. So we're expecting our numbers to continue to keep going up and up and up. But I think we had about 800 surveys come in just since 7:00 last night.
That's awesome. Well, I started it and then I bailed, but I promise I will get mine done.
Yeah, you can save it on the survey. If you start the survey, there is a way to save it.
I think I hit save. I think I hit save. All right, Jesse, appreciate it and looking forward to seeing the data. When can people expect to start to hear about some of the results?
We'll be publishing our articles during the off season on Ultiworld. So, October, November, December, January, that's when our articles should start to trickle out.
All right. Jesse Weisz, what I kind of call you, was the founder of First Available Research.
And founder, director, whatever it is, something like that.
Architect of the Disc Golf Fandom Survey. Go to discgolfsurvey.com to take it today and look out for all of the data that comes out on Ultiworld Disc Golf in a couple of months. Thanks, Jesse.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Charlie.
Welcome back to the Upshot. Great to talk with Jesse and super excited to see the results of this year's Fandom Survey. So go check it out. Get your voice in there, even if you only want to do the 10-minute version. All right, we turn our attention to Idlewild. This is a course that just belongs on tour. That is not true of a lot of the events. There's plenty of courses that feel like they're kind of designed to be for like maximizing views for in-person spectating, with the quality of the golf and the course itself kind of a distant second. That is not the case at Idlewild. Like, we get a true awesome woods course in kind of the heartland of America in Kentucky. And you just have to be excited about this course. I mean, it's easy to remember some of these holes, right? Some of these super interesting greens with like wood platform built up, and you have to have really great edge control and angles to reach some of these greens. This course does play pretty hard for FPO to the point where like you might have to reconsider like what a good score is on a hole. It's not always going to be birdie, and you have to be able to kind of scramble and take advantage of the opportunities that you have. For MPO, the course can score pretty well. I mean, you get things started on a really easy par 4 where like it's kind of birdie or die. I think Paul Ulibarri said on last year's coverage that it is the easiest starting hole on tour. Now, I don't know how many course changes they've made. I'm heading out to the course later myself to go take a look and go through the caddy book and everything. But I think, we kind of know what to expect at this tournament. It's a very interesting event overall because we haven't had a repeat winner in MPO in a really long time. I mean, let's go back to 2017. James Conrad wins it. Then Macbeth, Kevin Jones, Eagle, Kyle Klein, Isaac Robinson, and last year Gannon Burr. So we've had 7 different winners in 7 different years. Very atypical for the Pro Tour. I mean, we often see players who are successful at a particular tournament or course or courses, win 3-4 times over the course of that same stretch of time. I'll speak for Josh since he's not here. He loves to talk about Isaac Robinson and how unbelievably he played here in 2022 when Macbeth said that, there was no way that anybody was going to beat him. And maybe we see him start to get it going. It seems like he's finally starting to turn the corner a little bit with his game after kind of struggling in the first half of the season. So he's someone to keep an eye on. Obviously, though, Gannon Burr will be the favorite, and he will be the favorite to repeat, given the fact that he played great here last year. And he's just on absolute fire right now. Could not be more on fire. Over on the FPO side, just looking back, this used to be Paige's tournament. This is also the tournament that Ellen Widboom won, which what a story that was back in 2020. But Paige won it in 17, 18, 19, and 21. Katrina Allen got it 2 years ago, and Valerie Mondahano won it last year. Will we see Valerie Mondahano show up and play well? I mean, she's been a little bit invisible so far this season. Maybe getting back to a course that she's been successful on is going to give her some confidence to come out and compete at a high level. Overall, this was we're going to probably have a tight finish. Last year, Gannon was tied with Robinson, 1 shot ahead of Heimberg going into the final round. And then Gannon did Gannon things and, ripped off like 6 straight or something like that. And 2-shot swing early in the back 9 and kind of put it away. Gannon actually went bogey free for the last 52 holes of the tournament. So, yeah. And this is before he learned to throw hyzer flips all that well. So, Gannon's going to be the favorite this weekend. So we will see what happens. Mondahano ended up beating Owen Scoggins by 6 strokes last year. Maybe we see something from Owen this weekend. A couple players not playing. No Macbeth. He's taking the week off, getting ready for Worlds. So always keep that in mind. Some folks still dealing with some injuries. And so definitely looking forward to what all is going to happen there. So let's get to the picks. Josh sent me his. I will read them off to you right now. By the way, at Ledgestone, Josh did a nice job. He got Burr and Ezra Robinson on his MPO podium for a couple of points. Unfortunately for him, I had Gannon winning, so I get the bonus points there. I also had Heimberg and Dickerson, who both finished on the podium. So not quite a perfect podium. I didn't have Ezra, but I went 3 for 3 on podium picks with 4 guys ending up on the podium. Josh did correctly pick Holland to win. I had Holland in my 3 spot, so I get a point. He gets the bonus for picking to win. Overall, I'm still out in front. Come at me, folks. Make your picks at discgolf.ultiworld.com/upshot-picks. Here's who Josh has for Idlewild. In FPO, he's got Holland coming in third this week, not winning it. He's got last year's champion, Valerie Mondahano, taking second place. And he's got Missy Gannon taking it down at this tournament. I like it. You know, makes sense. Missy's been playing really well in the woods. We saw what she did back at U.S. Women's. On FPO, or in MPO, excuse me, he's got Isaac Robinson in the 3 spot, winner in 2022. He's got Chris Dickerson in the 2, and he's going back-to-back with Gannon in the 1 spot. I'm also going back-to-back with Gannon. That's how high a level of play I think he's playing at right now. In the 2 spot, I've got Rick, and in the 3, I've got Kyle Klein, who was just off the podium last year. I think we're going to start to see cream rising to the top. I'm picking the odd hands a little bit right now. I think it's that time of year. In FPO, I am going to take Holland to go back-to-back. I've got her over Own, and I've got Missy in the 3 spot. I'm just kind of keeping it straightforward. I mean, Missy's Own are well suited to play strong on Idlewild, and Holland just looks like the best U.S. player right now. Just that simple. So those are the picks. Put those in the books. Purse watch for Ledgestone. It's always a doozy. Coming in at $144,700 total purse, over $700 per player. That's easily the highest, both purse and money per person for the entire Disc Golf Pro Tour season. $15,000 to Gannon Bird, $9,000 to Holland Handley. The total purse up about 3.33% over 2023. So managing to bump it up just a little bit. Can't deny the payouts, even if it was a little tough to watch that tournament for 4 rounds with no Northwood. Looking forward to that becoming standard once again. Idlewild is the last 3-round tournament of the year. And then we've got Worlds and D-Glow and GMC and MVP, which are playoff events. And then, of course, USDGC and Throw Pink and the Tour Championship. So enjoy our last short sprint of the season, a sprint through the woods. It's going to be a blast. Sorry for the short episode this week, but with Josh out and me in travel hell this week, it was just kind of difficult to get in a full show. Josh will be with you next week. I'll be out on vacation, and then we'll both be with you for every single day of the World Championships, including our preview show coming out on Tuesday. Can't wait. Talk to you then. Thanks for tuning into the Upshot, and see you on the airwaves at Idlewild.